In the vast expanse of space, the Zarkonian Empire's flagship, the Eternal Dominion, drifted silently at the edge of Earth's solar system. Its sleek, obsidian hull absorbed nearby starlight, rendering it nearly invisible to the primitive detection systems of the blue planet they observed. Commander Zixvora, a seasoned veteran of countless galactic conquests, stood on the bridge, her 6 eyes fixated on the holographic display of Earth. Her iridescent scales shimmered under the soft purple lighting as she addressed her crew. "Report, Lieutenant Krall. What have we learned about these humans?" She spoke the last word with a hint of disdain. Lieutenant Krall, a younger Zarkonian with a reputation for technological brilliance, manipulated the control panel with his lower set of arms while gesturing expressively with his upper limbs. "Commander, we've been intercepting their radio transmissions for the past solar cycle. It's a cacophony of pointless chatter, but we've managed to isolate some intriguing threads." With a flick of his wrist, Krall projected a series of audio waveforms into the air. The bridge filled with the sounds of human voices, speaking in various languages. "Translate," Zixvora ordered. The ship's AI complied, and suddenly, the alien crew found themselves listening to a heated debate. "The classified Warship project must be accelerated," a gruff voice insisted. "Our intel suggests we're not alone in the universe, and we need to be prepared. And bankrupt the nation in the process," another voice retorted. "This project of yours is nothing but a pipe dream. Our current fleet is more than capable of defending Earth." Zixvora's antennae twitched with amusement. "They speak of defense as if they stand a chance against any spacefaring civilization. How quaint." Krall nodded, a smirk playing on his features. "Indeed, Commander. Their most advanced spacecraft can barely reach their own moon. Whatever this classified warship might be, it's likely centuries behind our technology." The commander circled the holographic display, studying the continents of Earth with a predatory gaze. "What else have you discovered, Lieutenant?" "Their planet is divided into nation-states, constantly bickering over resources and ideologies. They've split the atom but still burn fossil fuels. They've created rudimentary artificial intelligence, but can't agree on how to implement it ethically." Krall's tone was one of bewilderment mixed with condescension. Zixvora chittered, a sound that passed for laughter among her species. "They stand divided, yet they dream of cosmic relevance, fascinating and pitiful in equal measure." As if on cue, another transmission crackled through the speakers. This time, it was a public broadcast, a human reporter's voice filled with excitement. "Breaking news. NASA announces a breakthrough in propulsion technology, promising to revolutionize space travel. Officials remain tight-lipped, but sources suggest this could be the key to interstellar exploration." The bridge erupted in mockery, the Zarkonian crew barely containing their amusement. "Interstellar exploration," Zixvora mused, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Perhaps they'll make it to their neighboring planet within the next century." Krall, however, furrowed his brow ridges. "Commander, while the humans are undoubtedly primitive, I find their rate of technological advancement unsettling. They've progressed from first flight to lunar landing in mere decades." Zixvora waved a dismissive hand. "A fluke, nothing more. Their brief spurts of innovation are overshadowed by their constant infighting. They'll destroy themselves before they become a threat to anyone but themselves." She turned to her communications officer. "Prepare a report for the Imperial Council. Recommend Earth for low-priority monitoring. These humans are hardly worth our immediate attention." As the crew bustled to comply with her orders, Zixvora took one last look at the holographic Earth. For a fleeting moment, she felt a twinge of uncertainty. These humans, with their contradictions and inexplicable leaps of progress, were unlike any species they'd encountered before. She quickly shook off the feeling. After all, what could these primitive beings possibly have that could challenge the might of the Zarkonian Empire? Their laughter echoed through the halls of the Eternal Dominion, a symphony of cosmic hubris that would, unbeknownst to them, set the stage for their greatest military humiliation in eons. Little did they know, beneath the surface of human squabbles and seemingly primitive technology, a plan was already in motion that would shake the very foundations of their galactic superiority. 6 Earth months after the Zarkonians' initial surveillance, the skies above every major city on the planet suddenly darkened. Massive holographic projections materialized, depicting a being that was decidedly not human. Ambassador Excelthor of the Zarkonian Empire, resplendent in his ceremonial armor, gazed down upon the panicking masses with 6 eyes gleaming with barely concealed contempt. As global broadcasts were hijacked, Xelthor's voice boomed in every language simultaneously. People of Earth, I am Ambassador Excelthor of the mighty Zarkonian Empire. Your pitiful attempts at hiding your military advancements have amused us greatly. We have watched your quaint debates about classified warship projects and revolutionary propulsion. Today, we offer you a chance to prove your worth or submit to your rightful masters. The streets of New York, Tokyo, Lagos, and countless other cities fell silent as billions watched in stunned disbelief. Xelthor continued, his mandibles clicking in what passed for a smirk among his species. We challenge you, humans, to a space battle. Bring forth your mightiest warship, this secret project you've labored over. Face our chosen champion in combat beyond your atmosphere. Murmurs of fear and defiance rippled through the global audience. In the United Nations Security Council chamber, hastily assembled world leaders exchanged glances of barely concealed panic. The alien ambassador's next words, however, sent shockwaves of indignation across the planet. To demonstrate our magnanimity, and frankly, our unassailable superiority, we will fight with but a single warship, not our strongest, mind you. We wouldn't want this to be over too quickly. Laughter, cruel and otherworldly, echoed from the projections. You have 1 Earth week to present your champion. The coordinates for our battleground will be transmitted to your primitive defense systems. Should you choose not to appear, or should your mighty vessel fail to impress us. Xelthor paused for dramatic effect. We will commence the systematic dismantling of your civilization. As the projections flickered out, chaos erupted worldwide. Emergency sirens blared in every country, and social media exploded with a mix of terror, calls for unity, and even misplaced bravado from those who couldn't grasp the magnitude of the threat. In Washington, D.C., inside a secured underground bunker, President Elena Cortez gripped the edge of a conference table, her knuckles white. Tell me we have something, anything, that can stand up to these aliens, she demanded. General Zhang Wei, liaison for the ultra-secret Phantasm Project, cleared his throat. Madam President, the HMS Thunderbolt is nearly ready, but nearly may not be enough against an enemy of this caliber. It has to be. The British Prime Minister interjected via secure video link. The Thunderbolt is the culmination of 2 decades of reverse engineering that crashed UFO. It's our only hope. President Cortez nodded grimly. What's our play then? We can't just roll over, but we're clearly outgunned. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room, broken by an unexpected voice. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the lead scientist of the Phantasm Project, spoke up from her corner of the room. We use their arrogance against them, she said, her eyes gleaming with a dangerous mix of fear and excitement. They expect us to either cower or bluster. So we do neither. We accept their challenge, but we do it in a way they'd never anticipate. As all eyes turned to her, Dr. Tanaka outlined a plan so audacious, so riddled with risk, that it bordered on insanity. Yet, as the world's leaders listened, a spark of hope began to kindle. It's a long shot, General Zhang admitted, but it just might give the Thunderbolt the edge it needs. President Cortez stood, her decision made. Make it happen. And pray to whatever gods might be listening that we're not sealing humanity's fate. As the meeting adjourned, a flurry of encrypted communications raced across the globe. Operation Trojan Horse was a go. In orbit, aboard the Zarkonian flagship, Ambassador Excelfor reclined in his command chair, anticipating an easy victory. The human's response, when it came, would be the first move in a game he couldn't imagine losing. If only he knew the trap he was laying for himself. The laughter that now filled his ship might have died in his throat. The week following the Zarkonian ultimatum passed in a blur of global panic and frenzied preparation. As the deadline approached, Ambassador Excelfor received an unexpected message from Earth. The humans were requesting a face-to-face meeting to discuss terms of engagement. Intrigued and amused by what he perceived as a last-ditch effort to avoid annihilation, Excelfor agreed. The chosen meeting place was a remote military base in the Movav Desert. As Excelfor's shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, he marveled at the primitive fighter jets escorting him. Their quaint attempts at showing strength only reinforced his sense of superiority. Upon landing, Excelfor and his entourage were greeted by a somber delegation led by UN Secretary-General Adebayo Okafor. The humans' faces were masks of forced politeness, hiding a mix of fear and barely contained resentment. Ambassador, Okafor began, his voice steady despite the circumstances. We welcome you to Earth. Before we proceed to the negotiation chamber, we would like to show you something. Excelfor's mandibles twitched in curiosity. Oh, and what might that be, human? Okafor gestured towards a massive hangar in the distance. Our response to your challenge, Ambassador. We believe in transparency, even in the face of overwhelming odds. As they approached the hangar, its gigantic doors slowly creaked open, revealing a sight that nearly caused Excelfor to burst into laughter. There, bathed in the harsh desert sun, sat what appeared to be the most underwhelming spacecraft he had ever seen. The vessel was a hodgepodge of visible welding seams, exposed piping, and what looked like repurposed satellite dishes. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals, giving it the appearance of a space-faring junkyard creation. Behold, Okafor announced with a hint of resignation in his voice, the HMS Thunderbolt. Excelfor couldn't contain himself any longer. His laughter echoed across the desert, joined by the chittering amusement of his guards. This is your mighty warship, the fruit of your classified project. Okafor nodded solemnly. It's the best we could manage in the time given, Ambassador. We hope it meets the requirements for your challenge. Wiping tears of mirth from his multiple eyes, Excelfor composed himself. Oh, it meets them indeed. I must commend you, humans. I expected cowering or foolish bravado. But this level of self-awareness is refreshing. You know you can't win, yet you face your doom with dignity. As Excelfor continued to examine the ramshackle ship, making little effort to hide his disdain, activity bustled behind the scenes. In a hidden command center beneath the base, President Cortez watched the scene unfold on high-definition screens. Is everything in place? She asked, tension evident in her voice. Dr. Tanaka nodded, her fingers flying over a holographic interface. The Thunderbolt's true systems are online and masked. The outer hull is broadcasting false readings that match its appearance. As far as their scans can tell, it's exactly what it looks like, a piece of junk. General Zhang added, the crew is ready, Madam President. They're the best of the best, trained in secret for years for this very moment. Back at the hangar, Excelfor was concluding his inspection. Very well, he announced, unable to keep the amusement from his voice. We accept this vessel as your champion. Prepare it for launch. We will meet at the designated coordinates in 12 of your Earth hours. As the Zarkonian delegation departed, their shuttle ascending into the sky, the facade of defeat among the humans gave way to grim determination. Okafor spoke into a concealed communicator. They took the bait. Operation Trojan Horse is proceeding as planned. Inside the Thunderbolt, Captain Aisha Khoury ran her hand along a hidden seam in the ship's interior. With a soft hiss, a panel slid open, revealing a cockpit that looked centuries ahead of the exterior. As her hand touched the neural interface, the ship came alive around her, humming with power that defied human understanding. "This is for all of us," she whispered, thinking of the billions counting on her and her crew. "Let's show these aliens what humanity is really capable of." As night fell over the desert, the true HMS Thunderbolt prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of Earth and shatter the Zarkonian Empire's illusions of supremacy. As Earth's rotation brought the appointed hour near, the HMS Thunderbolt lumbered out of its hangar, its patchwork exterior creaking and groaning for effect. The ship's ungainly ascent through the atmosphere was a masterpiece of misdirection, with apparent engine misfires and erratic course corrections that had Zarkonian observers struggling to contain their laughter. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Ambassador Excelthor and Commander Zixfora watched the Thunderbolts approach with a mix of amusement and disbelief. "Surely this is some kind of jest," Zixfora mused, her antennae twitching in confusion. "Even for primitives, this seems excessive in its inadequacy." Zelthor chittered in agreement. "Perhaps they hope to win through sheer comedic value. Prepare the fist of Zarkon for combat, though I doubt it will be much of a fight." As the Thunderbolt neared the designated coordinates, a communication request pinged the Zarkonian flagship. Captain Aisha Khoury's face appeared on the main view screen, her expression a carefully crafted mix of nervousness and forced bravado. "This is Captain Khoury of the HMS Thunderbolt. We are ready for your inspection, Ambassador Excelthor." Her voice carried a slight tremor, a touch of fear that seemed to delight the Zarkonians. Zelthor stepped forward, his ornate armor gleaming under the bridge lights. "Very well, Captain. Prepare to be boarded. We shall evaluate your vessel before we commence this battle." The last word dripped with sarcasm. As a Zarkonian shuttle detached from the Eternal Dominion, the crew of the Thunderbolt sprung into action. Hidden panels throughout the ship concealed cutting-edge technology, while holographic projectors maintained the illusion of a ramshackle interior. The Zarkonian inspection team, led by Lieutenant Krall, transported aboard the Thunderbolt. Their expressions quickly shifted from disdain to barely contained hilarity as they took in the apparent state of Earth's mightiest warship. Captain Khoury guided them through cramped corridors, filled with exposed wiring and jury-rigged control panels. "As you can see," she explained, her voice hesitant, "we've incorporated our most advanced technologies. This console here controls our, primary weapon systems." Krall ran a scanner over the console, which showed nothing more sophisticated than basic circuitry. He couldn't help but laugh. "And what fearsome weapons might those be, Captain? Projectile launchers? Nuclear warheads, perhaps?" Khoury cleared her throat. "We prefer not to divulge specific capabilities before the engagement, sir." As the tour continued, the Zarkonians grew increasingly confident in their impending victory. They poked and prodded at various systems, each scan confirming their belief in human technological inferiority. What they couldn't detect were the quantum-entangled processors hidden within the ship's superstructure, or the dark matter reactor quietly humming beneath layers of shielding that rendered it invisible to their instruments. The inspection concluded, and the Zarkonian team prepared to depart. Lieutenant Krall turned to Captain Khoury, his voice a mixture of pity and amusement. "Your bravery is commendable, Captain, if misplaced. I almost feel guilty about the destruction we're about to unleash upon you." Khoury nodded solemnly. "We understand the odds, Lieutenant. We simply ask that you honor the terms of single combat, regardless of the outcome." As the Zarkonians transported back to their shuttle, the crew of the Thunderbolt maintained their facade of nervous anticipation. Only when the alien vessel was safely away did they allow themselves a moment of grim satisfaction. They bought it. Khoury's first officer, Commander Ravichandra, whispered, "Hook, line, and sinker." Back on the Eternal Dominion, Zelthor received Krall's report with unrestrained glee. "It's even worse than we imagined," Krall explained, struggling to maintain his composure. "Their ship is held together by hope and what they called duct tape. This will be less a battle and more a mercy-killing." Zelthor turned to Commander Zixfora, his eyes glinting with malicious anticipation. Prepare the fist of Zarkon for combat. Let's give these humans their moment of glory before we demonstrate true galactic superiority. As the Zarkonian warship moved into position, the crew of the Thunderbolt steeled themselves for the performance of their lives. The true battle was about to begin, and humanity's fate hung in the balance of their ability to maintain this cosmic deception just a little longer. The vastness of space served as a backdrop for what the Zarkonians assumed would be a brief and hilariously one-sided battle. The Fist of Zarkon, a sleek predator of a ship, took up position opposite the apparently ramshackle HMS Thunderbolt. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Ambassador Excelthor settled into a comfortable observation chair, a bowl of iridescent delicacies at his side. "Let the entertainment begin," he chuckled, addressing the eager crowd of officers gathered to watch. Commander Zixfora's voice rang out. "Fist of Zarkon, you may commence the attack. Try not to destroy them too quickly. Let's savor this moment." As the Zarkonian warship began its approach, the crew of the Thunderbolt executed their final preparations. Captain Corey's voice was steady as she addressed her team. "Remember your training. Timing is everything." The Fist of Zarkon fired its first salvo, a barrage of energy weapons designed more for show than destruction. To their surprise, the blasts seemed to pass right through the Thunderbolt, causing no apparent damage. Lieutenant Krell frowned at his sensor readings. "Odd. Perhaps their hull is so weak our weapons simply pass through." Increasing power. The next volley was met with the same result. Confusion began to ripple through the Zarkonian ranks. Aboard the Thunderbolt, Corey nodded to her weapons officer. "Now." Suddenly, the patchwork exterior of the Thunderbolt shimmered and dissolved, revealing a gleaming hull of an unknown, midnight black material. The ship's true form emerged, sleek, predatory, and unmistakably advanced. Gasps of shock echoed through the Eternal Dominion's bridge. Zelthor sprang from his chair, spilling his snacks. "What trickery is this?" Before the Zarkonians could react, the Thunderbolt unleashed its first attack. A pulse of concentrated dark matter erupted from its bow, warping spacetime around the Fist of Zarkon. The Zarkonian ship's shields flickered and failed, never designed to withstand such exotic energy. "Impossible," Zixvor exclaimed, her multiple eyes wide with disbelief. "Their technology. It's beyond anything we've encountered." The Thunderbolt moved with impossible grace, its maneuvers defying the laws of physics as the Zarkonians understood them. It seemed to blink in and out of existence, reappearing at will to unleash devastating attacks before vanishing again. Curry's voice crackled over the communication channels, a hint of satisfaction breaking through her professional tone. "Ambassador Excelthor, I believe it's time we had a real conversation about the terms of our engagement." On the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned. Officers scrambled to make sense of sensor readings that defied explanation. Excelthor, his earlier bravado evaporated, stuttered a response. This is impossible. You're primitives. How did you conceal such technology?" "We had an excellent teacher," Corey replied cryptically. "That UFO you thought crashed by accident. Let's just say it was more of a planned donation." As realization dawned on the Zarkonians, the Thunderbolt unleashed another volley. Quantum-entangled missiles phased through the Fist of Zarkon's hull, detonating within critical systems. The mighty warship, pride of the Zarkonian fleet, began to list helplessly in space. "Surrender your vessel," Corey demanded, "or we'll be forced to demonstrate the full extent of our capabilities." Aboard the crippled Fist of Zarkon, the captain looked to Excelthor and Zixvora for guidance. Both stood paralyzed, their worldview shattered in mere minutes. With trembling limbs, Excelthor opened a channel to the Thunderbolt. We surrender. Please, show mercy." As the Zarkonian crew evacuated their dying ship, the full implications of what had transpired began to sink in. Humanity, far from being primitive, had just revealed itself to be technologically superior to one of the galaxy's great powers. Captain Corey allowed herself a small smile as she addressed her crew. Well done, everyone. But remember, this was just the opening act. The real challenge begins now. As news of the battle's outcome spread across Earth, celebrations erupted globally. Humanity had stood its ground against an alien threat and emerged victorious. But in secure briefing rooms and hidden command centers, Earth's leaders knew the truth. They had just announced their presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. The age of human isolation was over. The galaxy, with all its wonders and dangers, now lay open before them. And the Zarkonian Empire, nursing its wounded pride, would not be the only power to take notice of this upstart species from the third planet of an unremarkable star. The immediate aftermath of the Thunderbolt's victory was a blur of activity both in space and on Earth. As the crew secured the surrendered Zarkonian forces, the Eternal Dominion hung back, its commanders paralyzed by indecision and fear. Captain Corey stood on the Thunderbolt's bridge, her posture rigid as she addressed the Zarkonian leadership by a holographic projection. Ambassador Excelfor, Commander Zixfora, I trust you now understand the gravity of your miscalculation. Zelthor, his earlier arrogance replaced by barely concealed panic, stammered, Captain Curry, surely we can come to some arrangement. This was all a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Curry's voice cut like a knife. You threatened our planet with annihilation. That's not a misunderstanding. It's an act of war. As she spoke, the Thunderbolt's sensors detected a surge of activity from the Eternal Dominion. Commander Zixfora, it seemed, was not ready to accept defeat. Captain, the Thunderbolt's tactical officer called out. The Zarkonian flagship is powering weapons and shields. They're calling for reinforcements. Curry's eyes narrowed. So be it. All hands, battle stations. It's time to show them what we're really capable of. The space around Earth suddenly lit up as a swarm of cloaked human satellites revealed themselves, forming a defensive grid that had been invisible to Zarkonian scans. From the planet's surface, previously hidden launch facilities roared to life, sending squadrons of advanced fighters to join the Thunderbolt. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Zixfora watched in horror as her tactical display filled with human ships, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. Impossible, she whispered. Their entire planet is a weapon. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Thunderbolt moved with impossible speed, its dark matter weapons tearing through Zarkonian shields like paper. Earth's defensive grid unleashed a barrage of quantum-phased energy beams, targeting the Eternal Dominion's key systems with surgical precision. Zarkonian reinforcements arrived, only to find themselves outmatched and outmaneuvered at every turn. Human fighters danced between enemy ships, their pilots neurally linked to their crafts, reacting with inhuman speed and coordination. As the battle raged, news spread across the galaxy. Quantum entanglement communicators, technology the Zarkonians had fought centuries beyond human capability, broadcast the conflict in real time to stunned alien civilizations. On a distant world, members of the Galactic Council watched in disbelief. Councillor Genva, a respected elder of the Arcturian Confederation, turned to her peers. We have gravely underestimated these humans. The balance of power is shifting before our eyes. Back in Earth orbit, the Eternal Dominion shuddered under another assault from the Thunderbolt. Zixfora, realizing the futility of continued resistance, opened a channel to Captain Curry. Enough, she cried, her voice a mixture of fear and awe. We surrender. Please, call off your forces. Curry signaled her crew to cease fire but kept the Thunderbolt's weapons primed. Your surrender is accepted, Commander. But know this. Any further aggression against Earth or its allies will be met with the full force of our capabilities. And trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. As the remnants of the Zarkonian fleet retreated, leaving behind their captured ships and crew, the true scope of humanity's deception became clear. Earth had not just been preparing for this moment. They had been orchestrating it for decades. In the White House Situation Room, President Cortez addressed the leaders of Earth's nations. The first phase of Operation Cosmic Shield is complete. We've announced our presence to the galaxy in a way they cannot ignore. But this is just the beginning. Screens displayed incoming transmissions from across the cosmos, some expressing fear, others curiosity, and a few offering congratulations and proposals of alliance. Dr. Tanaka, the architect of much of Earth's leap in technology, stepped forward. Madam President, with the Zarkonian threat neutralized, we can move forward with the next phase. It's time to take our place among the stars. As Earth celebrated its victory, the crew of the Thunderbolt prepared for their next mission. Captain Corey gazed out at the star-filled void, a mix of pride and apprehension in her heart. They had won the battle, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. Across the cosmos, ripples of change spread from this unexpected display of power. The age of human isolation was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the days following Earth's stunning victory over the Zarkonian Empire, the galaxy found itself in a state of unprecedented flux. The shockwaves of humanity's revelation reverberated through every corner of known space, reshaping alliances, toppling long-held beliefs, and igniting a firestorm of diplomatic activity. On Arcturus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in the Grand Assembly, their cacophony of voices, clicks, and telepathic emissions creating a din that threatened to overwhelm the chamber's translation systems. High Counselor Genva of the Arcturian Confederation took the central podium, her luminescent tendrils pulsing with barely contained agitation. Order. We must have order. Her psychic projection boomed through the minds of all present, silencing the chaotic assembly. Fellow sentients, she began, her inner glow dimming to a serious blue. We face an unprecedented situation. A species we had dismissed as primitive has not only repelled one of our most militant members, but has demonstrated technology that surpasses our greatest achievements. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A Volcran representative, his crystalline form shimmering with anxiety, spoke up. How could we have been so blind? The humans must have been observing us, learning from us, for centuries. Not centuries, came a new voice. All eyes turned to see Ambassador Excelthor, the Zarkonian diplomat who had so gravely underestimated Earth. His once proud posture was now hunched, his scales dulled with shame. Decades at most, their leap forward is unprecedented in galactic history. As the implications sank in, the assembly erupted once more. Some called for immediate military action to contain the human threat. Others argued for swift diplomatic outreach, hoping to gain access to Earth's advanced technology. A few fringe voices even suggested that humans might be the prophesied saviors from ancient legends, destined to lead the galaxy into a new golden age. Meanwhile, on Earth, the planet was a hive of activity. The veil of secrecy had been lifted, revealing a world far more advanced than its own population had ever imagined. In a secure facility beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Tanaka briefed a coalition of Earth's scientific elite. Holographic displays showed schematics of technologies that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The quantum fold drive, she explained, pointing to a complex engine design, will allow us to establish colonies in neighboring galaxies within months. Our phase-shift defense grid can protect these colonies from any known form of attack. A scientist from Nigeria raised her hand, her voice tinged with awe and concern. Dr. Tanaka, how did we advance so quickly? The ethical implications alone were carefully considered every step of the way, interrupted General Zhang, stepping into the light. Every breakthrough, every leap forward, was scrutinized not just for its scientific merit, but for its impact on humanity's future. We had to be ready. The galaxy is far more dangerous than we ever imagined. As Earth grappled with its new reality, the crew of the HMS Thunderbolt found themselves thrust into the role of humanity's first galactic ambassadors. Captain Corey stood on the observation deck, watching as her ship approached a massive space station at the edge of the Sol system, a neutral ground hastily established for first contact protocols. "Captain," her XO reported, "we're receiving transmissions from 17 different species. They're all requesting meetings, tech exchanges, alliance proposals, and a few thinly veiled threats." Curry nodded, her expression a mask of determination. "Remind them all that Earth comes in peace, but we're more than capable of defending ourselves. Our priority is to establish peaceful relations, but we will not be bullied or manipulated." As the Thunderbolt docked, Corey couldn't help but reflect on the irony. Humanity had spent centuries looking to the stars, wondering if they were alone. Now, in the span of a few short days, they had become the most talked-about species in the galaxy. On distant worlds, war rooms buzzed with activity as military strategists tried to decipher the extent of Earth's capabilities. In hidden temples, ancient prophecies were dusted off and re-examined. And in the boardrooms of interstellar corporations, plans were already being drawn up to exploit this new player on the galactic stage. The age of Earth's isolation was over. Whether humanity's debut on the galactic stage would lead to a new era of peace and prosperity, or plunge the cosmos into unprecedented conflict remained to be seen. One thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. 1 year after the Zarkonian incident, Earth had undergone a transformation that would have been unimaginable to previous generations. The planet buzzed with a new energy, a sense of purpose and unity that transcended old national boundaries. In orbit, the first sections of a massive space elevator neared completion, its nanotube tether stretching towards the stars. Shuttles zipped up and down, ferrying materials and personnel for humanity's burgeoning off-world colonies. On the Moon, the sprawling city of Armstrong shimmered under its protective dome, home to over 1 million colonists. Mars boasted 3 major settlements, their terraforming projects already showing promising results. But it was the Jupiter station, Galileo's watch, that truly showcased humanity's leap forward. A massive structure using the gas giant's magnetosphere for power, it served as Earth's primary shipyard and deep space research facility. In a secure conference room within Galileo's watch, Captain Aisha Corey, now Admiral Corey, stood before a holographic display of the Milky Way. Pinpoints of light marked human expeditions, diplomatic missions, and budding colonies. "Our expansion proceeds faster than even our most optimistic projections," she reported to the assembled Earth Union Council, a mix of in-person and holographically projected leaders. "We've made official first contact with 73 species, established trade relations with 28, and have defensive pacts with 12. President Cortez, attending via secure quantum link from Earth, nodded approvingly. And the Zarkonians. Admiral Corey's expression tightened. "Quiet for now. Our intelligence suggests they're undergoing significant internal reforms. Several frontier worlds have declared independence, citing the Empire's failure to protect them from the human threat." Dr. Tanaka, now head of Earth's Xenotechnology Integration Division, chimed in. "We're learning at an exponential rate. Every peaceful exchange of knowledge pushes us further." But she hesitated, her usual enthusiasm dimmed. "But what, Doctor?" asked the Chinese premier, leaning forward with concern. "We're encountering technologies, artifacts, even entire civilizations that defy our understanding. There are forces at play in this galaxy that make our leap forward seem insignificant in comparison." A murmur ran through the council. General Zhang, grizzled but sharp as ever, spoke up, "Which is precisely why we must remain vigilant. Our rapid expansion has not gone unnoticed. Many see us as upstarts, potential conquerors, or simply naive children stumbling onto a cosmic stage." As if on cue, a priority alert flashed across the main display. Admiral Corey's eyes widened as she read the incoming transmission. "Council members, we have a situation. The HMS Hawking, our deep space explorer, has made contact with something at the galactic core. Something big." The room fell silent as sensor data streamed in. At the heart of the Milky Way, a massive structure was stirring to life, a construct of impossible scale that dwarfed even the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. "By all that's holy," whispered the Nigerian representative. "What is that?" Dr. Tanaka's fingers flew over her console, analyzing the data. "It appears to be artificial, ancient beyond measure. And if these readings are correct, it's waking up." President Cortez stood, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Admiral Corey, prepare a task force." "Dr. Tanaka, I want every scrap of data we have on this structure." "General Zhang, alert our allies but keep this contained. We can't risk causing a galactic panic." As the council erupted into a flurry of activity, Admiral Corey found herself staring at the holographic representation of the mysterious construct. In that moment, she realized that humanity's journey had only just begun. They had taken their place among the stars. Yes, but they were still infants in cosmic terms, with so much to learn and discover. The next chapter of human history was about to unfold, filled with promise and peril in equal measure. As she issued orders to prepare the fleet, Corey couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. Humanity had passed its first test, proving itself on the galactic stage. But now, as ancient forces stirred and the very fabric of the cosmos seemed to shift, they faced challenges beyond imagination. The universe, it seemed, had only begun to reveal its secrets and its dangers. As the HMS Thunderbolt, now the flagship of Earth's growing fleet, prepared to lead the expedition to the galactic core, its crew knew they carried the hopes and fears of their entire species with them. Whatever awaited them would shape the destiny not just of humanity, but potentially of all life in the Milky Way. The new era had truly begun, and its first chapter promised to be more extraordinary than anyone could have dreamed.